Alright. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, there was one subject I forgot to touch on in my last live real quick that I'm glad that CIA brought up, who's a good friend of mine, who saw their little Discord thing of withholding evidence. Now, I have my assistant Nova here to explain what real withholding evidence means. Now, Nova, in your own words, if somebody sends now for Nova, for somebody that sends in evidence and then later finds more evidence that they forgot that they had and actually hangs on to it so that the other side does not get their hands on it to try to destroy it, and wants to hand that evidence into their lawyer or a police officer personally, can that person be held for withholding evidence if they had just a couple days later refound said evidence?
That's a really interesting question. Generally, withholding evidence is considered a deliberate act to keep information from authorities or the other party in a legal case. If someone simply forgot about the evidence and then later found it and promptly disclosed it, it's usually not seen as intentional withholding. In those cases, it's more about context and intent.
So let's say that I send in all the evidence to my lawyer that I had, and then I later find more evidence that I thought I had sent in, and I later then those people take that evidence, the other side takes that evidence, destroys it, but I still have parts of the original evidence that I would like to hand over to my lawyer or a real person of law enforcement, personally myself, to ensure the other side does not get their hands on it. What would that be considered?
In that scenario, it would generally be considered more of a good faith effort to preserve and protect the evidence rather than intentional withholding. If you promptly disclose it once you find it and it's clear that you didn't deliberately keep it hidden, that usually wouldn't lead to serious legal consequences. It's always best to be transparent and cooperate fully. That way it shows that you're acting in good faith and keeping everything above board.
Thank you. So you see, John, your little withholding evidence thing is garbage, because I later found these after everything went down, and I forgot that I had these. Okay? So therefore, I cannot be held liable, but given the fact of what you're trying to do, I can openly hand these to both my lawyer and a law enforcement officer who is a real law enforcement officer and a real, actual FBI agent. Matter of fact, you know what? I think I'm going to just hand these over to my lawyer herself, personally, so that she has these on hand. I might talk to her later on about coming down from New York to pick up this evidence so that she can have it on hand. Well, this one at least, because this one's just out of my Xbox and it doesn't really have much on it other than music and shit. But if she wants it, hey, she can have it. Free music. And possible more evidence. So, yes, I will be handing these over to Laura personally. Not some fake FBI agent, not some fake police officer that you guys send out here, but simply to my lawyer. So therefore, your little withholding evidence is fake, false, fraudulente. Matter of fact, let me prove you guys wrong on something real quick, how I cannot be held accountable for that. Hey, Nova, question for you.
Of course, feel free to ask away. I'm here to help. What's on your mind?
Say that I am supposedly, in this scenario that I'm about to give you, let's say that I am withholding evidence, but it's not in bad faith. It is in good faith and protecting and preserving said evidence from being destroyed. How would that be labeled as in the eyes of the courts? When I am not doing it to mislead, I am not doing it in bad faith. I am doing it because I know how the other side is and how they like to destroy evidence. And I have, been hanging on to said evidence to preserve said evidence. And I would like to hand it to my lawyer personally, knowing what these people would do. What would that be considered?
In that kind of scenario, the courts would generally look at the intent behind the action. If it's clear that you're trying to protect and preserve the evidence in good faith and not to mislead or obstruct justice, the court is likely to be more understanding. It would often be seen as a form of evidence preservation rather than intentional withholding. That said, it's always best to work closely with your lawyer and make sure everything is fully transparent and documented. That way you minimize any potential misunderstandings or legal issues.
So you see, boys, I am currently in the clear. Like I said, you guys don't know the law very well. Maybe you need to study a little bit. Maybe y'all need to do your research a little bit, boys. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to give my lawyer a call real quick and let her know that I just found more evidence, but I would like to hand it over to her or a real, actual person personally. So with that being said, I'm going to be calling my lawyer real quick, giving her an update, and then I got music to work on, bitch. Peace.